into our literary circles, which we're still going to do, we're going to learn something extra that we're going to put into a project we're going to do after circles. Does that make sense? So in your books that you're reading, you've come across a lot of things, a lot of sentences, a lot of words that make you imagine what's going on, right? Kind of like this quote I have up here from one of Lewis's books. Now, Malachi, you were already reading this, so can you read it out loud to everybody for us? And you guys need to imagine in your head what he's saying up here. Go for it.
1,000 points of light leaped out. Single stars, constellations and planets, brighter and bigger than any in our world. There were no clouds.
So does everybody kind of have a picture of what that is in their head?
I have absolutely no idea.
This is just leading off of the sentence that's before it, so that part's not as important because it's not making you imagine anything, right? But 1,000 points of light, so there's tons of light. So just imagine tons of light, just going all over the place. Single stars, so just a few little stars. Constellations, you know what constellations are?
No.
What are they?
They're what the stars make.
Yeah. So like, have you ever heard of the Big Dipper?
Yeah.
There's stars that when you connect them like with your finger, they make that picture. And planets, we know what planets are, right?
Yeah.
Brighter and bigger than any in our world. So any that we can think of. But there were no clouds. So now do you kind of see the picture?
Yeah.
This few sentences here, it's called imagery. Because it makes you think of something. It makes you imagine something, right? Now this sentence, I didn't write it. C.S. Lewis wrote it, right? So if I was going to put this on a piece of paper, or I was going to use it in a summary, or something like that, hold on a second, Hannah. I would want to make sure that other people knew that I didn't write it, right? Because it would kind of be stealing if I said I wrote it. Yes, Hannah?
Well, you wrote it on the board, but you didn't actually write it in the book.
Right, which is different. I didn't come up with it on my own. I just copied it down. So to do this, there's a special thing that we do, and it's called quoting. And it can also be called paraphrasing, but we're going to use quoting. And as you guys know, have you ever seen those before? Mm-hmm. What are those?
Quotation.
Quotation marks. There we go. So quotation marks go at the beginning and the end of someone saying something or when you're quoting something, right? Now the other special thing we're going to do here is, has anybody seen these before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are they?
Phrases.
Yeah, the parentheses that you put around phrases or important things. And in this case, what we're going to put in here is very important. Now, who wrote this? All these sentences?
C.S. Lewis?
Yeah, C.S. Lewis. And so we want to give him credit, right? Because we don't want to steal, right? So we're going to take his last name, and we're going to put his last name in the parentheses, because important things go in parentheses. What?
A lot of other people last name too.
Right. So if, what's your last name?
Lewis.
So, is it really?
Yeah, it really
awesome.
is.
So, if you wrote it, we'd put Lewis. And so then it'd be like you wrote it. If I wrote it, I'd put Farron. Does that make sense? But the other thing, since this came from a book, the other thing that's important is the page number that the sentence came off of. Just so that if someone wants to go look, because they want to read more about the sentence, they can find it. So for mine, this was on page 107. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, is there something missing at the end of this sentence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
3.
A period. So this is kind of tricky, but where do we think the period's going to go? Eli? Just take a guess.
You know it. After clouds.
After clouds, that's where it would usually go, but we're going to move it. Tell me, where do you think it would go?
Right after the last parenthesis.
Perfect. Right after the last parenthesis. Because that is completely the end. It's the end of the quote, and it's the end of the important information. Because you always put periods, exclamation marks, those always go at the end. So if it was an exclamation mark, where would I put the exclamation mark? Right our groups, after one group meets with me and then you read and stuff, you guys are going to have a big note card like this one. What you're going to do is anywhere in your book, you can go find a sentence or 2 sentences that helps you imagine what's going on in your story. Does that make sense? And you guys are going to draw the picture on the non-line side of your note card. So draw whatever it's making you imagine. Now on the back side, you're going to quote your sentence so that when you show them to your group and you read them to your group can go to that page and follow along. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you your note cards. While I'm passing out the note cards, you guys can get out your books and your packets. And then once you get your note card, you can break off and the flying professor's meeting with me. Fire Breathing 5 is meeting with me. Okay? And then whoever's in here can work on their stuff, and when you're done working, you just work on this. Alright?
You can get another sheet of paper.
Recording?
Don't.
No idea.
I don't want you walking in front of it. This is for her class. Yes.
Her class is kind of serious.
You know. Well.
And if you guys end up needing a different note card, they'll be up here on the chairs.
Wait, can it be from any chapter in the book?
Yes, it can.
Even a chapter that we haven't read yet?
No, use chapters that you've already read, Olivia.
But the note cards.
Anywhere. The note cards are up here.
Can I just take these on hug?
You can't. Or you can leave it on your desk, and when you're done reading,
Do I take
Do
the
it.
color thing? Or
Are
do I
you-
just leave it here?
leave it here. Just leave it here. You can leave the card and the pencil here, and when you're done reading, do the quote. Unless you want to do it while you're reading.
What's next? Am I allowed to, like, they're telling about this guy right here? Am I allowed to not draw that picture but a different picture of that?
Just try and do it totally different.
Yeah.
Okay? Yes, that would be good. Just so you're not copying the picture.
Do you put, like, anything that he says?
A quote. Something in the chapter. A quote. Same kind of thing. You know what? Whatever quote you use there, you could use for your card.
Who's going first?
Right?
Yeah.
Christian? Who's going first? What's your thought, Olivia?
It doesn't say what you think.
It doesn't say what?
What you think.
Anywhere in there?
I have an extra one.
Well, it might. Did you check through? Just to be sure? Is Mr. F one of the main people in it? Okay. Hannah, let him do it, okay?
What? Wait, Turner, what? The word, did it turn 54? What? Ahead? Because I like the way it's good. You can sit after it. Does it start there? Or does she have to read here?
Which word did you like, Olivia?
There's no squash in there.
There's squash. Yeah, that's what I mean. It starts right here. It starts on It's on both pages.
So, who's reading that one?
Instead of leaving them down
come alongside with their push cart. They crossed the street of Priest, and just as they reached the curb, the taxi cab slashed them in the dirty slush. But they kept on singing one. Flying again.
And you liked that one more? Why'd you like that one again? With the word splash? Slush. Alright.
It's funny when you keep
It's all the dirty sand thing. I mean,
well,
snow.
slushy.
Slushy? Drink the slushy.
My brother got slush.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's not very
I
good.
threw slush at my dad once.
I pushed my brother into the snow. I'm like, what?
He was listening.
No, he was like, wow.
Alright, what's your next one?
Page 55, paragraph 9.
There's only 8. There's only 8.
Paragraph 8.
Who's reading this one?
Christian.
They kept bumping into things because there's so many busy goggling at the site. Boxes of fruit and vegetables made walls around them. There were long alleys with endless rows of beef, sheep, and hog carcasses hanging on hooks. Men went by carrying great baskets filled with hawks and pigs' feet and calves' heads.
Why did you choose that one?
Because I like seeing people bump into things.
Alright.
Page 57, paragraph 4.
Start with Liz.
Doesn't Carl Armin started?
Yeah. Started.
Who's reading this one?
Wait, no, it doesn't sound like that.
Starts with Lewis.
Louise. Oh, it starts with Lynn.
So this second, third.
What does it start with, Olivia? Then? Alright, and who's reading this one?
Reagan.
Alright, go ahead, Reagan.
Then he bumped into a six-wheeled metal cart pushed by a man with a tall hat and baggy pants. Well, if it isn't Louise, he exclaimed.
Keep going.
Making enough money to pay your rent in that mole tunnel of the place of mob.
Olivia, why did we read that one?
Why did you choose it?
Because he bumped into a dude's car.
So it's the bumping into things again. There you go. Okey-dokey.
What?
Alright, next one, Olivia.
Page 57, paragraph 6. Holding. The children hated to leave the palace. They had enjoyed the. Wait, the children
Hated.
hated to leave the palace.
They enjoyed the noise and bustle. And why did we choose that one?
The guy